How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard, and this is a show about wrestling. And we are bringing you another of our random match reviews. And on this occasion, Leonard is the one that sent me the match to view for the first time. Generally, these matches are, unique in nature in some way or rare in some way. We not too often, I don't think we do like iconic matches to review here, but that's pretty much what we try to do. We try to do matches that the viewers/listeners probably have not seen. So Leonard selected this one, as I said, and Leonard, why don't you introduce it for us?
So this is a WWF women's title match between Sherri Martel, who's the champion, and Velvet McIntyre. And the whole video is a little over 18 minutes, and it appears to have aired as part of Primetime Wrestling. Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan are on commentary. And from cross-referencing some things on Cage Matches or the Internet Wrestling Database, I found out that this is from October 23rd of 1987. And it's from Paris, France. And that's why I want to talk about it, because it's a very different and unique venue. And the setup is way different than what is, I think, standard for the WWF at the time. The arena is mostly blacked out. It seems that the walkway is longer, the outside the ring area is longer, and the ring seems a lot bigger. The standard WWF ring is 20 foot by 20 foot. And I'm guessing this is 24 foot by 24 foot, which would be like an old school boxing ring, which would probably make sense for them being in Paris. And it makes, I think, the women look smaller. And when they run the ropes or they do a whip, it seems like they're running forever.
Right.
So one thing that made me laugh is that Velvet McIntyre comes out to Gene Okerlund's version of Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Well, yeah, I did, because in this era, Rick Derringer, who wrote and performed that song, also wrote and performed Real American, which was Hogan's theme, and so he had a little bit of a tie with WWF at this time, and I don't know how often Mr. Derringer ever talked about any of this. He kind of, I don't think you'd go to one of his concerts and see him perform Real American. Certainly Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo was a mainstream hit, but yes.
Yeah. I can't say I read a lot of Rick Derringer interviews, so I was not aware of that.
Maybe you should start. What do you think about that?
Maybe we can get Rick Derringer to come on the show and just talk about his time with the WWF.
That would be amazing. That's
so anyway, this match is, and I think we've done Sherri matches before. I know we did one with Medusa, and I like her matches from this time period because it was different than what other women was doing, and I really felt this match to me kind of had like the NWA style at the time, because Sherri's playing this overly cocky heel who becomes a chicken shit heel when she's up against like the fiery, fast baby face that Velvet is. Sherri works the crowd great, I think, throughout this match, and that helps to get, McIntyre more of a face pop. I didn't know a whole lot about Velvet McIntyre. I know the name, but I was really impressed with her and her moveset here. She's got a one-legged drop kick and a standing drop kick that I thought were both really good. She does the standing drop kick out of a test of strength while she's hooked to Sherri, which I don't think I've seen anyone do before. She does a couple impressive slingshot throws, which I think works because of Sherri's selling. One thing I didn't like, and I don't know if you picked up on this, in sort of the middle of the match, McIntyre goes from a Boston Crab to a camel clutch, but she just grinds Sherri's face into the mat with it, and then goes to a leg scissors. And it just seemed like she didn't know what to do there. Like she was just kind of trying to figure out something. But once they got into the leg scissors, that was a really cool sequence because she was so strong. She was picking Sherri up by just the leg scissor and slamming her into the mat. And I don't know if I've seen that before. I think, I'm trying to think of a woman today that would have like really strong legs, like maybe Piper Niven. Or Charlotte would be another one, or even Rhea Ripley maybe. I think that's a move they could get over and look really cool with. Um, so once they figure out what they were doing with that, I think that works. So finish comes when Velvet hits a flying crossbody, but Sherri rolls through it to get on top for the pin. There were a couple sloppy spots here, but I thought this was a match that was really nice and built well and superior for the time period. Throw in the unique setting, and I really enjoyed this. I almost went 3 stars, but I went 2 3/4 stars on this match. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So I mean, the first 10 minutes or so of this match, I thought it was pretty standard overall. Like you had a lot of slingshots and hair pulling and leg flips and, like standard women wrestling move sets that you would see at that time. Like, they didn't do a whole lot of unique stuff. However, after that 10, once it got towards the end, the pace really picked up. And you mentioned some of the things that we would see from both parties. And so I thought that the end of the match was a lot better than maybe how it started. But I will say that the highlight of the video is Heenan and Monsoon's commentary. Like
they mostly talk about just being in France.
Yeah, yeah. Like they clearly recorded this in the studio.
Yeah,
and we're just having a good time doing it. But yeah, I loved the commentary overall. I thought the match was fine. You of course had Sherri go over. So yeah, I would probably go right in on your 2 3/4 star rating for this.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there are more matches from that tour out there, but this was the one that popped up on my Facebook feed that I watched. And again, this is I picked it primarily for the setting. And again, you opened. We try to do stuff that is off the beaten path, not the iconic matches. You don't hear a lot about the women's matches from this time period, but I think that there were more than people remember, and they were better than people remember. And I think this is an example of it. Was it great? No, but it was very competent, and certainly wasn't, something heinous like you would see from, Glow, which I think when people think of 80s women's wrestling, that's what they think of. But if you look at stuff that the WWF was doing, and I know the previous match we watched with Sherri and Medusa, I believe it was from the AWA, it's competent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these two both obviously knew how to work, and I like going back to watch these matches simply to see Sherri as a in-ring talent. I mean, people are obviously most familiar with her as a manager and a valet, and rightfully so, as she was great at those things. But I mean, she was also really, really good at taking bumps, really good at playing the heel in the ring, and it makes it interesting to go back and watch these. And the other note that I had was, that. And rightfully so, Heenan and Monsoon both kept referring to the bad referee, who clearly was not one of their usual referees. Like you could, but that's why I love Monsoon and going back and listening to any of his matches, because like he would call out the referee if they were doing a bad job, and he would call out the talent if they did a move that didn't make sense at that time. And I think at one point, like, I don't know if I would necessarily call it a botch. Maybe it was like, I think Velvet McIntyre went for either a punch or like something into the ropes, and she didn't get it all. And Monsoon mentioned it. These days, oh my gosh, that would be, sacrilege if you tried to call out a mistake in a match. They'd have to cover it up and whatnot. Why? Like, we have eyes.
Yeah, because in real life and in the other sport, you would mess up.
Right.
The quarterback in a football game will throw a bad pass
and
or
Troy
misread
Aikman, for example,
coverage.
Come out and say, wow, they really shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. All the time, if you're watching the game, they'll say, "Oh, he should have thrown that ball." And in the other sport, they would do that too. So the fact that Monsoon is calling out those things makes it feel more real and believable. And now I think it's just gone so much the other way. As you said, if someone would call out, oh, they didn't get all that one, or not sure what they were doing there, or even just something like that I'm sure in any of the major federations, they would get called out for it. And it was like, oh, you're making the talent look bad, or you're calling out the talent looking bad. No, you're trying to help them look better
Right.
by pointing it out and trying to explain why that did or didn't work.
Right, absolutely. And I would definitely say I don't want to make like WWE into like the total villain in this, like, but they certainly do more of the, got to protect the talent at all times thing. AEW does that sometimes as well. Like if it's a clear botch, they will try, if they can think of an excuse that will cover it up, they'll use it. Other times you will hear Excalibur say, or whoever say, oh, they didn't get all of that. That's about as much criticism as you'll hear on the AEW end. You won't hear them, highlight it too much. But anyway, but yeah, this was an interesting match to watch. I remember when I saw the video start and it was 18 minutes, I was like kind of surprised. I was like, wow, an 18-minute match for, but obviously it's, with entrances and the end and stuff, it cuts off time. But
yeah, I didn't time the whole thing, but it's definitely over 10 minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you have seen this match, let us know what you thought about it. If you want to comment on either Velvet McIntyre or Sherri, please let us know what you think of this era of women's wrestling. And check out our other videos, such as Stupid Questions, Segment Surgery, What's That Card, our full-length episodes as well. We are also available wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the like button on our YouTube videos, subscribe to our content, and thank you very much for checking us out. For Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.